The cry for help's sun was setting over the broken ruins of what was once a peaceful alien village. Thick smoke rose into the sky, mixing with dark clouds. The air smelled of burning wood, blood, and fear. The ground was covered with broken pieces of homes and shattered memories. Velia stumbled through the wreckage, holding her baby close to her chest. Her mate was gone. He had died protecting them when the invaders came. Now she was alone. The child whimpered weakly, too hungry to cry anymore. His small body was thin, and his skin was turning pale from starvation. Velia's legs trembled with every step. She had not eaten for days. Her body was weak, but her love for her child kept her moving. She whispered softly to him, trying to comfort him, even as her own hope was fading. "Hold on, my little one," she said, in her soft alien tongue. "Just a little longer." In the distance, a human soldier named Daniel patrolled the area. His boots crunched over the scattered debris. He was part of a small unit sent to secure this area after the invasion. His helmet scanned the surroundings, but his heart felt heavy. The war had caused too much pain to both humans and aliens. Then, he heard something faint. A soft, broken cry. It was not a threat. It was not a soldier. It sounded ... desperate. Daniel paused. His hand moved to his rifle as he carefully followed the sound. With every step, his pulse quickened. Was this a trap? Some of the enemy had been using women and children to lure soldiers into ambushes. He moved closer, stepping around a fallen wall. What he saw made him freeze. There, in the shadow of a collapsed building, was an alien woman. She was on her knees, her clothes torn, her body covered in dust and small cuts. In her arms was a tiny child who barely moved. Their large alien eyes were filled with exhaustion and fear. The mother looked up at him. Her lips trembled. Her eyes begged for mercy. She didn't speak his language, but Daniel understood her clearly. She was pleading for help. Daniel's training told him to turn away. He was not allowed to assist non-human civilians. Orders were strict. But something inside him fought those rules. He could feel the child suffering deep in his chest. "Double quotes, please. ... Velia whispered, though she knew the human might not understand. Daniel looked at the child. Its tiny hands barely clutched its mother's torn shirt. The little body was so fragile it almost looked lifeless. He checked his ration pack. Only one meal left. It was all he had, until the next drop. He knelt slowly, lowering his weapon. "It's okay," he said softly, hoping his calm voice would comfort them. "I won't hurt you." Velia flinched at first, but when she saw him put his gun aside, she relaxed, slightly. She watched as he opened his last ration pack and took out the small food container. The child tried to lift its head as the smell reached him. Daniel carefully extended the food toward Velia. She hesitated, unsure if it was a trick. But then the baby reached out weakly. Tears filled Velia's eyes as she guided the food into her child's mouth. Small bites, slow chewing, but life slowly returned to the child's face. Daniel stayed quiet, watching them. He felt the weight of what he had done. He had broken protocol. Back at the base, they would not understand. They would call this betrayal. But in his heart, he knew it was right. Suddenly, Daniel noticed a small blinking light nearby. A tiny drone, half hidden under rubble, had been recording everything. It sent live feeds back to command. He cursed under his breath. This was bad. He looked around quickly, making sure no enemy soldiers were nearby. The area seemed clear for now. "You need to get out of here," he whispered, mostly to himself. But how? He couldn't leave her here. She wouldn't survive another night. Velia sensed his worry. She gently touched his arm, her voice shaking. "Thank you, ... human." Daniel nodded. "We'll figure something out," he promised, even though he had no plan yet. The sun disappeared behind the mountains, and the cold wind swept through the ruins. Strange howls echoed in the distance. Predators were on the move. The night was dangerous here. Daniel knew he couldn't leave them alone. Not tonight. He stood up and scanned the area again, then looked back at Velia and her child. "I'll stay," he said firmly. "I'll protect you." Velia's eyes widened. She didn't fully understand his words, but she understood his meaning. She bowed her head in gratitude. In that moment, two beings from different worlds sat together in silence, surrounded by the remains of war. Finding hope in each other's kindness, the Forbidden Choice's night grew colder as darkness fully covered. The ruins, broken walls cast long shadows under the pale moonlight. Every distant sound felt louder, distant howls, clicking noises from hidden creatures, and the soft whimpering of the baby as he tried to sleep against his mother's chest. Daniel sat close, his rifle resting across his lap, eyes scanning the darkness. Every instinct inside him screamed that he was making a dangerous choice, not because of the predators lurking in the shadows, but because of what his own people might do if they found out. His communicator buzzed softly. A message from command. "Status report. Soldier. Any civilian contact." Daniel stared at the blinking message for a long moment. He knew what they wanted him to say: negative. Area secure. "No contact," he finally whispered, sending the false report. He closed the communicator with a heavy breath. He had now officially lied to his own commanders. If they discovered this, it could mean his career, or worse, prison. But looking at the alien mother and her child, he didn't regret his decision. Velia sat quietly, watching the human. She didn't understand his language fully, but she recognized his eyes calm, yet troubled. He had risked something great for them. She gently pulled her child closer and whispered a silent prayer of thanks. A sudden sharp growl from the shadows made Daniel lift his rifle quickly. He aimed into the dark, but saw nothing. Glowing yellow eyes flashed for a second before disappearing. "They're testing us," he whispered, "waiting for us to drop our guard." Velia tensed. She knew the creatures too. Scavenger beasts that roamed the ruins after battle. They attacked the weak. Tonight, she was weak. But tonight, she wasn't alone. Hours passed, each minute feeling like an hour. Daniel stayed awake, listening carefully. The creatures circled, but didn't dare attack while he was alert. Just before dawn, a strange humming sound filled the air. Daniel's eyes narrowed. This was not the sound of beasts. This was man-made. A drone, hovering above the ruins. A small black drone zipped through the air, scanning the area with a blue searchlight. Daniel's heart dropped. If this drone spotted them together, command would know he lied. He pulled Velia and the baby under a large slab of concrete, motioning for them to stay silent. The drone hovered closer, its light sweeping across the ruins. Daniel whispered, "Don't move, don't breathe." The beam of light came dangerously close. He could hear the soft whirring of the drone scanner just above their heads. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he held his breath. Velia closed her eyes tightly, pressing her child's face into her chest to muffle any sound. Then, after what felt like forever, the drone buzzed away, disappearing into the sky. Daniel finally exhaled, wiping his brow. That was too close. Velia looked at him, seeing the tension leave his face. She reached out and gently touched his hand. Though she couldn't speak his words, her eyes said everything. "Thank you for protecting us." He nodded softly. "We're not safe yet. We need to move." The baby made a soft cooing sound, weak but alive. Daniel smiled faintly. Saving that child felt like saving a piece of something pure in this brutal war. But he knew time was running out. Soon command would send a full patrol. If they found him with an alien civilian, it would be over. As the first light of dawn broke, Daniel stood up, scanning the path ahead. The city's central tower was still standing, far in the distance. If we reach that tower, he thought aloud, maybe We can contact someone who can help, but it's a long walk. He turned to Velia, pointing towards the distant structure. We go there. Velia followed his hand, nodding slowly. She stood, her legs shaking, but her will strong. They started moving through the ruins, carefully, stepping over broken beams and shattered glass. Daniel kept his rifle ready. Every corner could hide danger. After an hour, they came across a narrow alley filled with burned-out vehicles. Suddenly, Velia stopped and grabbed his arm tightly. She pointed ahead. There, across the street, a group of human mercenaries were setting up camp. Not soldiers from Daniel's unit. These were scavengers. Dangerous men who hunted for profit. One. Evam shouted. I thought the drone picked up something here last night. Probably nothing, another answered. Just some dying aliens. But if we find survivors, we can sell them. Alien females still fetch a good price. Daniel's jaw clenched. Rage burned inside him. These weren't his people. These were monsters wearing the same skin. He pulled Velia back into cover, whispering, Stay silent. The mercenaries laughed loudly as they loaded their weapons and scanned the area with portable sensors. Daniel checked his own scanner. Only one way around them. A tight underground tunnel nearby. An old sewage line. Dangerous, unstable, but their only chance. We go under, he whispered. Velia nodded, trusting him completely now. They slipped into the dark tunnel, the smell of damp and rot filling the air. Daniel led the way, checking every step. The tunnel groaned as loose rocks shifted above them. Behind them, the mercenary scanners beeped. Got something, that way. Panic raced through Daniel's chest. He whispered, Move, faster. As they crawled through the narrow passage, a loud cracking sound echoed. Part of the ceiling collapsed behind them, sealing the way they had come. Dust filled the air. Velia coughed, clutching her child. Daniel helped her forward. After what felt like endless crawling, they finally emerged into an open chamber. Ancient symbols glowed faintly on the walls. It was not part of human construction. Valya gasped softly. This is ... sacred place. Daniel looked around, confused but alert. Where are we? She whispered. Old temple. My people ... long ago. Daniel didn't know it yet, but stepping into this forgotten place had just awakened something far more powerful and far more dangerous. Their real journey was only beginning. The silent template chamber was cold and silent. Soft blue lights glowed from strange carvings along the walls. Ancient symbols spiraled upward, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Daniel stood still, rifle ready, eyes scanning every corner. Though it was calm, the air felt heavy, like something old was watching. Valya slowly stepped forward, her fingers brushing against the glowing walls. Her eyes widened with awe and fear. This place, it's the temple of my ancestors. It has been lost for centuries. Daniel narrowed his eyes. This was under the city the whole time. Yes, she whispered. But only my people knew. Humans never found it. The baby whimpered softly in her arms. He was growing weak again. Though Daniel had given him food, the child still needed more, and they were still trapped underground. Suddenly, a low hum echoed through the chamber. The lights along the walls grew brighter. Daniel tightened his grip on the rifle. Stay behind me. The hum became louder. Then, from the far end of the chamber, a massive stone door slowly slid open. Cold air rushed out as dust filled the room. Glowing symbols danced along the door's surface. Velya fell to her knees and lowered her head. The Guardian ... it awakens. Daniel's heart pounded. Guardian. Deep inside the open chamber, a pair of glowing red eyes appeared. A large figure stepped forward. Not mechanical, not fully organic. It was something in between. 8 feet tall, covered in armor-like skin, with long curved horns on its head. Its body radiated ancient power. The creature spoke in a deep, vibrating voice, its language unknown to Daniel. But Velia understood. Who dares enter this sacred ground? The guardian demanded. Vlya raised her head slowly, her voice shaking but respectful. I am Velia, of the old bloodline. My mate was slain, my child starves. I seek only shelter. Protector. The guardian stared at her, its eyes narrowing. You carry royal blood, but you bring ... a human. It turned its gaze to Daniel. Daniel kept his rifle lowered, but ready. He didn't understand the words but felt the creature's attention shift like a heavy weight pressing down on him. Vlya quickly spoke again. This human saved us. Without him, we would be dead. The guardian stepped closer, towering over Daniel. Though massive, it moved with graceful silence. Its red eyes scanned him, reading his heart, sensing his truth. Human. It finally spoke in broken English, its voice slow and heavy. You ... broke rules ... to save enemy. Daniel swallowed, but kept his voice steady. They're not my enemy. The guardian's eyes blinked once, long and slow. Most would leave them. You did not. Velia looked up with hope. Please ... help us. The guardian paused, then slowly stepped back. You may rest here, but dangers still follow you. Daniel exhaled deeply. For now, they were safe. They moved deeper into the temple, entering a large chamber filled with ancient machines and strange glowing crystals. Velia showed him the resting area where soft moss grew, a safe place for the baby to sleep. Daniel sat down, finally lowering his rifle fully for the first time in days. His body ached from exhaustion. How long can we stay here? He asked. Vlya looked at the guardian, who answered in his deep voice, only until the hunters arrive. Daniel's head snapped up. Hunters, the mercenaries who followed you. They know you came underground. They search for another way in. Daniel cursed under his breath. Then we need a way out. The guardian slowly nodded. There is another path, ... but dangerous. Old. Forgotten. Double quotes. Daniel stood up, his eyes determined. Show me. Before the guardian could respond, another voice crackled through Daniel's communicator. A voice from command. Private Daniel, your false report has been discovered. You are ordered to return immediately. Failure to comply will result in full charges. Daniel's face hardened. His own people were hunting him now. Vlya watched him, worried. What will you do? Daniel clenched his fists. I didn't come this far to leave you now. The guardian stepped closer. You defy your leaders. For this child and mother. Yes, Daniel said firmly. The guardian's red eyes dimmed for a moment. Then follow me. It led them through twisting corridors filled with ancient markings, glowing softly as they passed. Some walls were cracked, unstable. Deep rumbling echoed in the distance. Old parts of the temple were collapsing. After several turns, they reached a large chamber with a giant sealed gate covered in thick vines. Behind the gate, faint lights flickered. This path leads to the surface, far beyond the enemy lines, the guardian explained. But opening it will draw their attention. Daniel nodded. Do it. The guardian raised both massive arms, pressing its hands into the gate's ancient controls. Deep grinding noises filled the air as heavy gears slowly turned above them. The vibrations shook the ruins. Far above ground, the mercenaries' scanners picked up the movement. They're trying to escape. Full squad, move in, shouted the mercenary leader. The chase was not over. In fact, it was about to reach its most dangerous moment. The gate opened, revealing a long dark tunnel leading upward. But behind them, heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors. The mercenaries had entered the temple. Daniel turned to Velia. Run, I'll cover you. The guardian placed one giant hand on Daniel's shoulder. You will not stand alone. Together, Human and alien prepared for the fight of their lives. The mercenaries saw the ancient gate groaned as it stood wide open. A cold wind swept through the long, dark tunnel ahead. Faint light blinked in the distance. Freedom was close. But behind them, danger was coming fast. Daniel gripped his rifle tightly. Velia clutched her baby against her chest, breathing fast but steady. The Guardian stood like a mountain beside them, its glowing red eyes locked on the entrance behind Dot. From deep within the temple halls, the mercenaries' voices grew louder. Heavy boots stomped across the stone floors, weapons clinking, scanners beeping. "We've got them cornered," shouted the mercenary leader, a tall man with cruel eyes named Craven. "The alien mother and the traitor human are trapped." Daniel's jaw tightened. Craven was infamous, a hunter who sold helpless aliens to the black markets. Now, Daniel was his prize. Velia Daniel whispered, "Take the child and start moving through the tunnel. Stay low, stay quiet." "What about you?" she whispered back, her voice shaking. "I'll hold them here," Daniel said. "Buy you time." Before Velia could argue, the Guardian placed its heavy hand on Daniel's shoulder. "You have fought bravely, human. But this battle is not yours alone." The great beast stepped forward, its armor-like skin gleaming under the glowing lights. The first wave of mercenaries burst into the chamber, their rifles flashing as laser shots sprayed toward Daniel and the Guardian. Stone walls exploded into dust as blasts struck the ancient pillars. Daniel dove for cover behind a large slab, returning fire with precision shots. 2 mercenaries fell instantly. The Guardian charged forward, its heavy body absorbing blasts like rain. With a roar that shook the chamber, it swung its massive arms, smashing 2 mercenaries against the wall with a sickening crunch. "Fall back," shouted Craven. "Use the shock drones." Small metallic drones zipped forward, releasing electric pulses. Blue arcs of energy danced across the Guardian's body, causing it to stagger for a moment. Daniel shot 1 drone out of the air, but more came buzzing like angry wasps. "Keep moving," Daniel yelled back to Velya Dot. She hesitated for only a second, then ran into the dark tunnel, her child held tight. Every step she took away from Daniel made her chest ache with fear. In the chamber, the battle raged. Daniel's magazine ran dry. He tossed his rifle aside, pulling out his sidearm. The mercenaries closed in, forcing him backward. The Guardian, though wounded, kept fighting. Its massive arm grabbed 1 drone and crushed it like paper. But more mercenaries kept coming, their numbers overwhelming. Craven stepped forward, raising his voice. "Stand down, soldier. You are outnumbered. You are alone." Daniel's chest heaved, sweat pouring down his face. "I'll never surrender to scum like you." Craven laughed coldly. "Then you'll die like one." Before Craven could give the kill order, a sudden deep rumble shook the entire chamber. The ancient walls cracked. Dust rained down like snow. Somewhere deep in the temple, the structure was failing seismic instability. One mercenary shouted, "We have to pull back." But it was too late. A massive chunk of ceiling collapsed between the mercenaries and Daniel, blocking their advance. The Guardian pulled Daniel back to safety, shielding him from falling debris. "The path is closing," the Guardian warned. "We must leave." Daniel nodded, barely able to catch his breath. They turned and rushed into the tunnel, following Velya's trail Dot behind them. Craven roared with rage. "Find another entrance. They won't escape." As Daniel and the Guardian ran through the narrow, winding tunnel, the air grew colder. Strange ancient lights guided their path, pulsing softly like stars, far ahead. Velya waited in a small cavern, her eyes wide with relief, as she saw them approach. "You're safe," she whispered. "For now," Daniel said, still catching his breath. The Guardian knelt beside them. "This tunnel will bring you to the high cliffs. Once you reach the top, you will see the forest valley. Humans rarely patrol that area." Daniel studied the map on his wrist device. "If we make it there, We can reach an old rebel outpost. They might help. Suddenly, the tunnel behind them shook again. Distant explosions echoed. They found another way in, Daniel growled. We're running out of time. The group moved quickly through the winding tunnels, their steps echoing through the ancient halls. Every turn brought new danger, broken bridges, narrow ledges, unstable stone paths. One wrong step could mean death, as they crossed a narrow stone bridge over a deep chasm. Daniel heard shouting behind them. There they are. Craven's voice echoed through the tunnel. Laser shots zipped through the air, narrowly missing them. Run, Daniel shouted. The bridge began to crack under their weight. Huge chunks of stone fell into the endless black abyss below. VLYA made it across with the child. The Guardian followed with heavy steps. Daniel was the last one, sprinting as the stone beneath him crumbled. With one final leap, he reached the other side, just as the bridge collapsed completely. Cutting off the mercenaries once again, Craven stood on the far side, shaking with rage. You won't escape me. The group pressed forward, deeper into the winding tunnels, knowing that their final escape was drawing near, but also knowing the enemy would not stop hunting them. Finally, after hours of climbing through the twisting passageways, they reached a large opening. The fresh air hit their faces like a gift from heaven. They stepped out onto a high cliff, overlooking a massive green valley bathed in soft morning light. Strange alien birds circled above. It was peaceful for now. We made it, Velia whispered, tears in her eyes. Daniel scanned the horizon. Now we find that outpost. But even as hope returned, shadows moved in the forest below. Not all dangers were behind them, and Craven, he wasn't finished yet. The trap in the valley's sun hung low as they carefully made their way down the steep cliffs. Beneath them, the vast valley stretched like a sea of green waves, with thick alien trees swaying gently in the wind. Colorful birds soared above, their strange calls filling the air. For a brief moment, it almost felt peaceful. Daniel moved ahead, scanning the path with his weapon ready. Behind him, Velia followed closely, carrying her child, while the Guardian stayed at the rear, its heavy steps shaking the ground with every move. We stay alert, Daniel warned softly. Craven won't give up. Velia looked around nervously. This forest, it's sacred to my people, but it is dangerous. The Guardian spoke in its low voice. Many old creatures live here. Some hunt anything that moves. They moved carefully through the dense forest, every shadow feeling alive. Strange glowing plants lit the narrow paths. Huge twisted roots blocked some of the trails, forcing them to climb or crawl. After several hours of travel, Daniel's wrist device beeped faintly. There, he pointed. The rebel outpost should be just beyond that ridge. Hope sparked in Velia's tired eyes. Will they help us? They're old allies, Daniel said. They hate the mercenaries more than anyone. Suddenly, the peaceful silence shattered. A sharp whistle zipped through the air. A warning. Before Daniel could react, a massive net launched from hidden traps buried beneath the ground, shooting upward and wrapping around Velia and her child. She screamed as the net yanked her into the air, suspending her above the forest floor. Daniel spun around, aiming his weapon. Velia from the thick bushes, armed mercenaries, stepped out. Dozens of them. They had surrounded the group quietly, waiting for the perfect moment. Craven stepped forward with a cruel smile on his face. You really thought you could escape me, soldier? Daniel's heart raced. Let them go, Craven. You got no reason to take them. Craven laughed coldly. No reason? I see 2 reasons hanging right there. He pointed to Velia and the child. Pure alien blood cells very well. And you, traitor, ... You'll make a fine example for others who dare betray their orders. The Guardian growled deeply, stepping forward. You will release them. Craven raised a small device. One press of this button, and the net will release a paralyzing shock. The child won't survive it. Daniel froze. One wrong move, and the child would die. Drop your weapon, Craven ordered. Daniel slowly lowered his rifle, fury burning inside him. You won't get away with this. Oh, I already have, Craven sneered. The mercenaries moved to secure Daniel, but before they could reach him, a loud screech echoed through the trees. The entire forest seemed to hold its breath from the high branches. Enormous winged creatures emerged, ancient predators known as sk. Their sharp beaks glistened under the sunlight, and their wingspan stretched wider than any aircraft. The leader of the Skifangs let out a deafening cry as the flock circled above. The mercenaries panicked. Skifangs, get cover, one screamed. In the chaos, Craven's finger hovered over the shock trigger, but before he could press it, one of the Skyfangs swooped down, grabbing two mercenaries in its massive claws and lifting them high into the air before dropping them to their deaths. Craven stumbled back, shocked, dropping the trigger device. Daniel didn't hesitate. He lunged forward, kicking the device away and diving toward the control panel of the net. With quick fingers, he disabled the electric trap and released Velia and the child, who fell gently into the Guardian's waiting arms. Got you, Daniel whispered, helping Velia up. The Guardian roared and charged into the mercenaries, smashing several under its massive fists. Panic spread through Craven's men as the Skyfangs continued their attack from above. Daniel grabbed his rifle again, firing precise shots. Stay behind me. This way, the Guardian called, leading them toward a hidden narrow path deeper into the woods. Craven single quotes as remaining men scattered, trying to avoid both the creatures above and the Guardian's wrath. But Craven himself wasn't done. Hidden behind a large rock, Craven pulled out a small handheld rocket launcher. His eyes were wild. If I can't have them, no one will. He aimed at Velia, ready to fire. Daniel noticed him at the last second. No. He sprinted forward, throwing himself in front of Velia and the child as Craven fired. The rocket shot out, its trail burning the air. But then, the Guardian leaped with one powerful bound. It placed its massive body between the rocket and the group. The explosion struck the Guardian directly, knocking it back into the trees with a deafening crash. Smoke filled the air. Guardian, Velia screamed. Daniel rushed to the Guardian's side. Its body was badly damaged, armor cracked, sparks flickering from old energy veins. You protected us, Velia whispered, tears falling. The Guardian's voice was weak but steady. It was ... my duty. Behind them, Craven tried to reload, but the Skyfangs were upon him now. His screams echoed through the forest as the giant birds carried him into the sky, ending his hunt forever. The battle was over. For a moment, silence returned. Only the sounds of wind and distant bird cries remained. Daniel placed his hand on the Guardian's shoulder. Stay with us. The Guardian's red eyes dimmed slightly. Go ... to the outpost. Safety is near. Daniel and Velia exchanged a look. They couldn't leave him here. We carry him, Daniel said firmly. We owe him everything. With great effort, they lifted the Guardian's heavy body, moving carefully toward the outpost, now only a few kilometers away. The danger was not fully gone. The forest held more secrets, and the Guardian's life hung by a thread, but together they pressed on, stronger as one. The ancient secret sun dipped lower as Daniel, Velia, and the wounded Guardian slowly crossed through the dense forest. Each step was a struggle. The Guardian's weight was heavy, its body sparking with damaged energy. Daniel's arms burned with exhaustion, but he refused to stop. Velia whispered softly to her child, trying to keep him calm. Though her own legs shook, she kept moving. Almost there, little one, she said softly. We are close. Ahead of them, the forest began to thin. Through the trees, the edges of ancient ruins appeared, crumbling stone towers wrapped in thick vines. The rebel outpost was built here, hidden beneath layers of history that even the humans had forgotten. Daniel lowered the Guardian gently onto a flat stone slab. We made it. But as he reached for his communicator to signal the outpost, something strange happened. The ruins around them lit up. Blue symbols, similar to those in the temple, began to glow softly on the walls of the ancient towers. The air hummed with strange energy. The baby in Velia's arms suddenly became calm, his small hand reaching toward the glowing symbols. Daniel looked around, uneasy. What's happening? The Guardian, weak but still aware, opened its dimming eyes. This place is older than your war. It belongs to the first ones. Velia stared at the glowing runes in awe. My ancestors spoke of this place. They called it the Cradle of Light. Suddenly, a deep vibration shook the ground. From beneath the ruins, ancient machinery awakened. Hidden panels slid open, revealing a circular platform. In the center stood a large crystal, pulsing with a soft, rhythmic glow, like a living heart. Daniel raised his weapon, ready for anything. Is it safe? The Guardian slowly nodded. It is a sanctuary, but also a key. A key to what? Daniel asked. The Guardian struggled to speak. To healing, to power, and to peace. As they watched, the crystal began to glow brighter. Beams of light reached out, scanning the baby first. Soft sounds filled the air, not mechanical, but musical, like ancient voices singing. Velia clutched her child tighter. What is it doing? The Guardian smiled weakly. It recognizes him, as the last heir. Daniel's eyes widened. Heir, Velia's voice trembled. My mate, He was of royal blood. This child carries the bloodline of the first ones. The crystal responded, glowing brighter. Tiny energy particles floated around them, wrapping them in warmth. Daniel lowered his weapon, feeling the peaceful energy wash over him. His tired body felt lighter. Even the Guardian's broken shell seemed to repair itself slightly under the healing light. It's repairing him, Daniel whispered. The baby giggled softly as the glowing light swirled around him. Velia's eyes filled with tears. This place, it can save him. As the crystal continued its work, Daniel's communicator finally blinked. A signal, rebel outpost. This is Daniel, requesting immediate extraction. I have civilians and wounded. The reply came quickly. Signal received. Coordinates locked. Extraction inbound. Relief washed over him. They were almost safe. But peace would not last long. Above the trees, the sound of engines roared. Several black armored transports hovered into view, carrying soldiers from high command, the same ones who had been hunting Daniel since he broke protocol. They found us, Daniel growled, pulling his rifle up. Velia's eyes filled with panic. They followed your signal. The Guardian slowly stood, its wounds partially healed by the crystal's energy. They come, for the child. The transports lowered ropes, dropping soldiers into the ruins. Armed and armored, they moved quickly, surrounding the sanctuary. A loudspeaker echoed through the ruins. Private Daniel, you are under arrest for treason. Surrender the alien civilians and the unauthorized technology. Daniel shouted back, they're not your enemies. They're refugees. The commander responded coldly. The child's bloodline threatens the balance. Surrender now. The soldiers moved closer, weapons drawn. Daniel looked at Velia and the baby. We won't let them take you. The Guardian's voice boomed. This sanctuary is sacred. You will not violate it. The soldiers hesitated as the Guardian stepped forward, its body glowing with renewed power. Then the commander gave the order, engage. Laser fire erupted. Daniel returned fire, taking down 2 soldiers. The Guardian charged into the front line, its massive arms swatting soldiers like flies. But the humans were well-trained. Energy nets shot forward, wrapping around the Guardian, sending powerful shocks through its body once again. Daniel fired desperately, protecting Velia and the child as the soldiers advanced. There's too many. Velia cried above them. The sky shimmered. From behind the clouds, rebel aircraft finally arrived, their engines screaming. A rebel captain's voice filled the air. "Stand down, or we open fire." The high command soldiers paused, caught between two enemies. The rebel dropships opened their side doors, revealing rows of heavy gunners. "This is rebel territory," the captain continued. "Leave, now." The high command commander hesitated, then finally gave the order. "Fall back." The soldiers retreated to their transports, lifting off into the sky. Daniel dropped to his knees, breathing heavily. Velia hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. "You saved us." The rebel troops landed, quickly securing the area and tending to the wounded guardian. The rebel captain stepped forward, offering his hand to Daniel. "Heard you broke some rules, soldier." Daniel smiled weakly. "Some rules are meant to be broken." The captain nodded. "You did the right thing. We'll protect them." As the rebels worked to stabilize the guardian, the crystal in the center of the sanctuary pulsed once more, brighter than before. The guardian whispered, "The child will bring peace between our people." Daniel looked at Velia and the baby, hope blooming in his chest. Maybe this war can finally end. But far away, in the shadows of power, others were already watching. Not everyone wanted peace. A greater battle was still coming. The final reckoning days passed. The rebel outpost, hidden deep within the ancient ruins, became their sanctuary. For the first time in weeks, Velia and her child slept without fear. The guardian rested inside the temple, still recovering under the glow of the ancient crystal. The rebels offered food, medicine, and protection. Daniel stood watch outside, scanning the skies, but peace here felt fragile. He knew the danger was not fully gone. The rebel captain approached him. "Command won't stop hunting you, Daniel. They will come again." Daniel nodded. "They want the child. They see him as a threat." "He's not a threat," the captain said, glancing toward Velia. "He's hope." Inside the sanctuary, the ancient crystal grew brighter each day. The baby, cradled in Velia's arms, smiled more, his skin growing healthy, his eyes glowing softly with energy. Something within him was awakening, the guardian explained. The child carries the blood of the first ones. Their knowledge, their peace. Long ago, humans and my people were allies. But greed broke the bond. Daniel listened carefully. So this child could end the war. The guardian's voice was firm. "If he lives." But as the crystal pulsed, stronger, far away, powerful leaders of high command watched from their hidden chambers. Secret broadcasts showed the child's awakening. "The alien child is too dangerous," a general declared. "His existence will unite humans and aliens against our control." Another leader slammed his fist on the table. "Send the full strike fleet. Erase the outpost. Destroy the sanctuary. Make sure none survive." The order was given. 2 nights later, the warning came. Rebel scouts rushed into the sanctuary. Enemy fleet incoming. Dozens of ships, heavy firepower, full assault. Panic spread through the outpost. Fighters scrambled, ground defenses prepared. Daniel grabbed his rifle, rushing to Velia's side. "We have to get you out of here." The rebel captain approached. "We have escaped tunnels, but they'll be waiting for you. They want the child." The guardian stood tall again, its body glowing with full strength. "I will fight. I will not let history repeat." Above them, the sky turned black as enemy warships blotted out the stars. Bright lights rained down, drop pods full of soldiers. The final battle had begun. Explosions rocked the valley as soldiers clashed across the ruins. Rebel fighters soared above, trading fire with the invading fleet. The sky lit up with bursts of orange and blue. Datiel led Velia and the child through narrow escape tunnels, but the enemy was everywhere. Mercenaries, soldiers, drones, all hunting for them. Suddenly, An explosion collapsed, part of the tunnel behind them. Dust filled the air. From the smoke, a squad of heavily armed commandos emerged, weapons raised. "Surrender the child," the lead officer barked. Daniel stepped in front, shielding Velia and the baby. "You're not taking him?" The officer sneered. "We don't need you alive." Before he could fire, a massive shadow crashed down from above the Guardian. With a mighty roar, it smashed the soldiers, crushing them into the stone floor. Energy blasts bounced off its armored body. Daniel shouted, "Go! Get to the final chamber." They sprinted through the collapsing tunnels, reaching the heart of the sanctuary, the crystal chamber. The crystal pulsed wildly now, reacting to the child's presence. Beams of energy circled the room like living light. The Guardian stepped forward. "This place can protect him." Daniel watched as the crystal formed a glowing cocoon around Velia and the baby, lifting them gently into the air. "What's happening?" Velia asked, her voice trembling. The Guardian smiled softly. "It is unlocking the old knowledge, preparing him." Above, enemy soldiers flooded into the chamber, surrounding Daniel and the Guardian. The enemy commander stepped forward, cold and cruel. "You have lost. Lower the shield and surrender the child." Daniel raised his rifle one last time. "Not while I'm breathing." The Guardian stood beside him. "Then we fight together." The final battle erupted. Energy blasts filled the air. The Guardian charged into the soldiers, smashing and tossing them like toys. Daniel fired with deadly accuracy, taking down one after another. But the enemy kept coming. As the battle raged inside the cocoon, the child's tiny hands glowed. Ancient symbols danced across his skin. His eyes opened wide, glowing brighter than ever. A deep, ancient voice filled the chamber, not from any machine, but from the crystal itself. "The bloodline returns. Unity shall be restored." Suddenly, a massive shockwave burst from the crystal, sending enemy soldiers flying. Their weapons shattered. Their machines shut down. The entire temple lit up, beams of light shooting into the sky. Outside, rebel forces watched as the enemy fleet lost power. Engines failed. Weapons froze. Ships drifted helplessly. The power of the first ones had awakened. When the light faded, the chamber was silent. The enemy lay defeated, unable to fight. Daniel lowered his rifle, breathing heavily. Velia held her child, who now radiated a gentle glow of life and peace. The Guardian stood tall, fully healed by the crystal's energy. "It is done," the Guardian whispered. "The war will end." The rebel captain entered, his eyes wide with wonder. "They can't touch us now. The old power, it's protecting us." High Command's fleet retreated, unable to continue their attack. Their leaders watched helplessly. As their control slipped away, the message spread quickly. Across both human and alien worlds, the first one's heir had returned. Unity was possible. Weeks later, peace talks began, something no one believed possible before. Daniel stood beside Velia as world leaders gathered. The child, still small but already a symbol of hope, sat calmly in his mother's arms. The rebel captain smiled. "You changed everything, Daniel." Daniel looked at Velia, then at the child. "No, he did." The Guardian stood at the center of the temple, its voice echoing through history. "When fear gives way to kindness, when enemies choose to protect instead of destroy, true power is born." For the first time in generations, war ended, and it all began with one human's choice to give his last meal to a starving alien mother and her child.